to a human trafficking complaint at the same residence that we responded to this morning. 8 minutes later, he also called back and called in a burglary in progress and said there were people digging under the front yard in an attempt to get into the residence. So officers responded to those 2 calls and got here and made contact with the homeowner and the suspect who lives there as a guest. It was determined he was going through some type of mental episode, potentially off his medications. Everything was determined okay. None of the other stuff was actually happening and in progress, so they were able to leave the scene. Later this morning, as Sheriff said, around 4:32, a call was dispatched for them to respond to about the arson in progress. On that call, it was the actual homeowner that was calling in because the suspect was trying to burn the house down. He had lit a curtain inside the house on fire and was burning that upon her phone call. So the officers arrive. Rescue was on scene as the officer got here. He gets up to the scene. The suspect is on the front porch, kind of pacing back and forth. Through dispatch, he learned that the guy was armed with a knife. The lady is inside, the complainant. She's explaining to us, hey, or telling the officer he is armed, he has a knife. So the officer keeps his distance and tells him, stay back, drop the knife, drop the knife. Meanwhile, he walks over and he picks up what turns out to be an airsoft pistol. Looks real, the tip's been painted black, looked like a pistol. He advances on the officer with both. As he's advancing, the officer's keeping his distance, telling him to drop the gun, drop the knife, telling him to stay back. He comes around the side of the car. Suspect continues to advance. Meanwhile, the lady is yelling. It sounds like she's advising it's an airsoft. Obviously, the officer had not confirmed that yet, but he still had the knife and was advancing. As he comes on around, finally, after an undetermined amount of time, the suspect fires what turned out to be the airsoft and strikes the officer. The officer returns fire, hits him 3 times in the legs, and drops the knife and everything right there at the scene. At that point, they start to render aid. They get him into custody. He goes to a local hospital where he is in critical condition. He was struck 3 times in the lower extremities. Our suspect, his name is Timothy O'Donohue, and I'll spell that. It's O'Donohue. He's a white male, 49 years of age. He's got priors for carjacking, where he did 15 years in the state penitentiary. He's got prior arrests in Volusia, Orlando, and Gainesville. We don't have the details of those at this time. For our officer, it was his first officer-involved shooting. He has elected Marcy's Law, so we'll not be releasing his information. And it is our 8th officer-involved shooting of this year. And the state attorney's office is still on scene conducting their independent investigation as well. So with that, we can take a few questions.
Any questions?
All right. Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you.